Have you ever reached the end of a long day, feeling utterly exhausted? Yet when you look back, you can't pinpoint a single meaningful thing you accomplished? You were busy answering emails, attending meetings, putting out fires, but were you productive? This nagging feeling, this gap between effort and achievement, is one of the most frustrating paradoxes of modern life. The core problem that Master Your Time addresses is our chronic mismanagement of our most precious, non-renewable resource. We live in an age of unprecedented distraction, where our attention is the currency everyone is trying to steal. This book is a crucial manual for survival and success in the 21st century because it teaches you not just to manage your minutes, but to master your focus, your energy, and ultimately, your life's direction. Thibaut Meurisse, in his book, Master Your Time, provides a clear, actionable framework to reclaim your focus and align your daily actions with your deepest goals. He's an author known for breaking down complex productivity concepts into simple, practical steps you can apply immediately. Welcome back to Summary in 15 Minutes, where ideas turn into action and books change lives. Let's dive into the powerful lessons from Master Your Time. Chapter 1. The Awareness Principle. Auditing Your Time. Let's begin with a simple but profound truth. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Imagine a CEO trying to run a multi-million-dollar company without ever looking at the financial statements. They have no idea where the money is coming from, where it's going, or whether the company is profitable. It sounds absurd, doesn't it? Yet, this is precisely how most of us manage our most valuable, non-renewable asset, our time. We let 168 hours slip through our fingers every week with only a vague, often inaccurate, sense of where they truly went. This is the starting point of our journey, the foundational lesson from which all other principles of time mastery are built. Thibaut Meurisse calls this the awareness principle. It is the radical act of turning the lights on in a room you've been stumbling around in for years. It's about moving from assumption to certainty, from ignorance to intelligence. Before you can build your ideal life, you must first deconstruct your current reality, and the tool for this deconstruction is the time audit. Many of us suffer from what could be called time blindness. We believe we have a good handle on our day. We think we worked a solid 8 hours, spent quality time with family, and only checked social media for a few minutes. The time audit is the cure for this blindness. It's the brutally honest mirror that reflects not what we think we do, but what we actually do. The results are often shocking. The 8-hour workday might turn out to be 3 hours of focused work, fragmented by 4 hours of distractions, emails, and low-value meetings. The quality time with family might have been spent in the same room, but with everyone staring at their own screen. The few minutes on social media could easily be 2 or 3 hours of mindless scrolling. This isn't about shaming ourselves. The purpose of the audit is not to generate guilt, it is to generate data. You are to become a scientist of your own life, observing your habits with detached curiosity. Guilt is a paralyzing emotion that keeps us stuck in the past. Awareness is an empowering force that allows us to design a better future. The discomfort you might feel when you see the results is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of awakening. It is the necessary friction that precedes meaningful change. It's the moment you realize the ship you're sailing is off course, giving you the chance to grab the wheel and steer it toward your desired destination. Without this awareness, you remain a passenger, subject to the whims of distraction and the currents of other people's priorities. With it, you become the captain. So, how do we perform this life-changing audit? The process is simple in its mechanics but requires absolute honesty and diligence in its execution. Meurisse's approach can be broken down into a clear, actionable process. First, you must choose your weapon of awareness, your tracking tool. There are several options, each with its own strengths. The most basic, and perhaps the most mindful, is a simple pen and a small notebook. Every hour, or even every 30 minutes, you pause and write down exactly what you were doing in the previous block of time. The physical act of writing creates a powerful mental connection and forces a moment of reflection. It makes the passage of time tangible. Another option is a digital spreadsheet, like Excel or Google Sheets. You can create columns for the date, time interval, activity, category, and even a rating for its value or energy level. This makes data analysis much easier later on. Finally, there are dedicated time tracking apps like Toggle, Rescue Time, or Clockify. Some of these apps run in the background on your computer and phone, automatically tracking which websites and applications you use, providing a fascinating and sometimes terrifyingly accurate picture of your digital life. The best approach is often a hybrid, using an app for passive tracking of digital habits while manually logging your offline activities in a notebook or spreadsheet. The key isn't the tool itself, but the consistency of its use. Choose what feels most sustainable for you and commit to it. Second, you must define your categories. This is a critical step, as a vague log will produce vague insights. Simply writing work for 8 hours is useless. You must dissect your life into meaningful components. Your goal is to understand the composition of your time. For your professional life, categories might include deep work, focused, high-value creation; shallow work, emails, admin, scheduling, team meetings; internal, client calls; external, planning, strategy; and professional development, reading, courses. For your personal life, be just as meticulous. Family time, active engagement, no devices; household chores, cooking, cleaning; health, fitness, exercise, meal prep; personal growth, reading, journaling, meditation; relationships, time with partner, friends; leisure, TV, social media, gaming; errands; and of course, sleep. Creating these categories before you start tracking forces you to think about what actually constitutes your life and what activities are truly important to you. Third, you track. You track everything. For a minimum of 7 consecutive days, you will log every 30-minute block of your waking life. This includes weekdays and weekends to get a full, holistic picture. The rule is simple. If you did it, you log it. No exceptions, no judgment. Did you spend 45 minutes scrolling through Instagram when you were supposed to be working on a report? Log it. Did you get sidetracked by a YouTube rabbit hole for 2 hours? Log it. Did you spend an hour complaining to a coworker about another coworker? Log it. Honesty is non-negotiable. You are only cheating yourself if you fudge the numbers to create a more flattering but fictional account of your time. This process will feel tedious at first. It will feel like an interruption, but this interruption is the entire point. Each time you pause to log your activity, you are pulling yourself out of autopilot and into a state of conscious awareness. You are actively observing your life as it happens. After your tracking period is complete, be it 1 week or 2, you move to the most crucial phase: analysis and reflection. This is where you transform raw data into life-altering wisdom. Start by adding it all up. Tally the total hours and minutes spent in each category for the entire week. Put it all into a spreadsheet and create a pie chart. When you see a visual representation of your 168 hours, a chart showing that 30 hours went to unfocused work, 15 hours to social media, and only 2 hours to your most important personal goal, the reality hits you in a way that raw numbers never can. This visual is your moment of truth. With this data in hand, you must now become a detective and ask yourself a series of powerful, incisive questions. Question 1. Does my time allocation align with my stated values and goals? This is the most important question. If you say your health is your top priority, but your audit reveals you spent 20 hours watching television and only 90 minutes exercising, then your actions are out of alignment with your values. There is a gap between the person you say you want to be and the person your time audit shows you to be. This is not a moral failing. It is a strategic problem. Your system, your set of habits, is not designed to produce the results you want. The audit reveals this system failure with cold, hard clarity. Question 2. What are my biggest time sinks? Look for the categories that consumed a disproportionate amount of time for the value they provided. Identify your top 3 time vampires. These are the activities that suck your time and energy dry with little to no return on investment. For many, these are social media, aimless web browsing, news consumption, unnecessary meetings, or dealing with avoidable interruptions. Simply identifying these drains is a massive step forward. You can't fight an enemy you can't see. The audit makes your enemies visible. Question 3. When am I at my peak? When am I at my lowest? Your time audit is also an energy audit. As you review your log, look for patterns in your productivity and focus. You might discover that you are a creative powerhouse between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., but after 3 p.m., your brain is only good for simple, administrative tasks. This is invaluable information. Most people try to force themselves to do creative work when their energy is low and waste their peak energy hours on checking emails. The audit reveals your unique chronobiology, your personal rhythm of peak performance. This knowledge alone can revolutionize your productivity, allowing you to schedule your most important work during your most powerful hours. Question 4. How much of my time is proactive versus reactive? Look at your log and label each activity. Was this something you planned to do? A conscious choice aligned with your goals, proactive? Or was it a response to an external demand, an email, a notification, a colleague's interruption, an unexpected request, reactive? Many of us live our lives in a constant state of reaction, bouncing from one urgent but unimportant task to another like a pinball. We become slaves to the ding of the inbox. An honest audit will likely show a heavily skewed balance toward reactive work. The goal of time mastery is to flip this ratio, to spend the majority of your time in proactive, intentional action. The emotional journey through this process is as important as the logistical one. At first, you may feel resistance to tracking. It feels like a chore. Then, as you see the data coming in, you might feel shock, disappointment, or even shame. This is normal. Do not run from these feelings. Sit with them. Acknowledge the truth without judgment. See it as the starting line, not a finish line. The moment you see the unvarnished truth of your time is the moment you reclaim your power. It is the end of blissful ignorance and the beginning of intentional living. Think of it like a medical diagnosis. Getting a diagnosis of high cholesterol might be scary, but it's infinitely better than living in ignorance while the condition worsens. The diagnosis is not the illness. It is the first step toward the cure. The time audit is your diagnosis. It shows you exactly what is unhealthy about your relationship with time. To conclude, the awareness principle is the non-negotiable first step in the journey of mastering your time. It's about replacing assumptions with facts. It's about trading guilt for data. Before you can optimize, prioritize, or execute, you must see your reality with unflinching clarity. So, your call to action from this first, foundational chapter is simple. Commit to a 7-day time audit. See it not as a burden, but as an adventure in self-discovery. Prepare to be surprised, perhaps a little uncomfortable, but ultimately empowered. This single act of diligent awareness will provide you with the personalized map of your own life, revealing all the dead ends, the hidden traps, and the undiscovered highways to your goals. Without this map, you are lost. With it, you can finally begin to chart a course toward the life you were meant to live. Chapter 2. Defining your priorities. The 80-20 rule in action. If the first chapter was about turning on the lights and seeing the current state of the room, this chapter is about deciding how you want to furnish it. The time audit has given you the raw, unfiltered data of your life, a map of your current reality. But a map is only useful if you have a destination. Now that you have awareness, you need direction. And the tool that provides this direction, the compass for all effective people, is the art of prioritization. But this isn't about creating a longer to-do list or simply deciding what to do first. It's about a fundamental shift in how you view your tasks, your goals, and your entire life. It's about understanding that not all effort is created equal. The secret to unlocking extraordinary levels of productivity and fulfillment lies in a simple yet profoundly powerful principle that separates the effective from the merely busy. Meurisse introduces this as the master key to prioritization, the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, was first observed by Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto in the early 20th century. He noticed that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by just 20% of the population. An intellectually curious man, he looked for this pattern elsewhere and found it in his garden. 80% of the healthy peas were produced by just 20% of the pea pods. This strange imbalance, this predictable asymmetry, turned out to be a universal law that governs almost every area of our lives. It's a law of unequal distribution which states that, for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. Once you put on the 80-20 glasses, you start seeing this principle everywhere. In business, 80% of a company's revenue typically comes from 20% of its customers. 80% of complaints come from 20% of problematic clients. In software development, 20% of the bugs cause 80% of the system crashes. In your own home, you wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. You experience 80% of your happiness and fulfillment from 20% of your relationships. Now, let's apply this to the domains of time management and productivity, where it becomes a truly revolutionary concept. 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results. Let that sink in. The vast majority of what you do, the emails you answer, the meetings you attend, the tasks you check off, is trivial. It contributes very little to the outcomes that truly matter. A small, select handful of your activities are vitally important. These are the tasks that move the needle, create breakthroughs, and align with your deepest goals. The person who masters their time is not the one who does more things, but the one who relentlessly identifies and obsesses over that vital 20%. The average person, meanwhile, drowns in the trivial many, the 80% of low-impact activities, feeling constantly busy, but never truly moving forward. They spend their days organizing the deck chairs on the Titanic, while the 80-20 thinker is focused on steering the ship. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to declare war on the trivial 80% and become a fierce protector of your vital 20%. This is simple in theory, but it requires deep, honest work in practice. So, how do you pinpoint your vital few activities? Meurisse's approach guides us through a practical process of identification. First, you must define your 80% result. The principle is useless until you define the outcome you are trying to achieve. Results are subjective and unique to you. Before you can find the cause, you must clarify the effect you're looking for. Take some time to think about the key areas of your life: your career, your finances, your health, your relationships, your personal growth. For each area, define what a successful outcome looks like. In your career, is the ultimate result generating revenue, completing high-impact projects, earning a promotion, or building a great reputation? Get specific. In your health, is the result more energy, losing 20 pounds, or running a 5K? Without a clear definition of your desired outcome, you cannot possibly identify the few activities that will get you there. Second, you must ask the powerful 80-20 questions. With your defined results in mind, you can now interrogate your life and your to-do list. These questions are designed to cut through the clutter and expose what truly matters. Ask yourself, for your career, which 20% of my tasks and efforts generate 80% of my value and income? What are the 2-3 things I do that, if I did nothing else, would still allow me to keep my job or grow my business? For your happiness, which 20% of people in my life bring me 80% of my joy, support, and encouragement? Which 20% of my activities or hobbies produce 80% of my fulfillment and relaxation? For your problems, which 20% of my habits or situations cause 80% of my stress and anxiety? What are the few sources of negativity that are poisoning the well? For your learning, which 20% of books, podcasts, or courses have delivered 80% of my most valuable insights and skills? Go back to your time audit from the previous chapter. Look at your log of activities with this new 80-20 lens. Circle the activities that produced a significant result. Cross out the ones that were just filler, the ones that consumed time but produced nothing of value. The patterns will begin to emerge. You'll see that the hour you spent planning your week on Sunday night, a 20% activity, had a far greater impact than the 4 hours you spent in pointless status update meetings, an 80% activity. You'll see that the 30 minutes of deep, focused work on your most important project before anyone else got to the office was more productive than the 3 hours of distracted, email-driven work in the afternoon. This analysis allows you to create what we can call a vital few list. For each major area of your life, identify no more than 3 activities that represent your 20%. These are your new priorities. Everything else is secondary. But identifying your 20% is only the first half of the equation. The second, and arguably more difficult, part is the ruthless elimination of the trivial 80%. This is where true productivity is forged. It's not about adding more to your plate. It's about aggressively taking things off. Every minute you spend on a low-value 80% task is a minute you are stealing from a high-value 20% task. This requires courage, especially the courage to say one of the most powerful words in the English language, no. Every time you say yes to a request that doesn't serve your highest goals, a meeting that could have been an email, a project that doesn't excite you, a social obligation you feel drained by. You are implicitly saying no to something that does. You're saying no to your workout, no to reading to your kids, no to that deep work session that could lead to a breakthrough. Warren Buffett famously said, "The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. They understand that their time and energy are finite resources to be invested, not spent. Saying no is not a rejection of the other person. It is an affirmation of your own priorities. Beyond simply saying no, you can employ a system for dealing with the trivial many. For any task that isn't on your vital few list, ask yourself a sequence of questions. Can this be eliminated? Ask the radical question, what would actually happen if I just didn't do this? You would be surprised how many tasks we perform out of sheer habit or outdated obligation that have zero real-world impact. Run an experiment. Stop generating that weekly report that no one reads and see if anyone notices. If they don't, eliminate it forever. Can this be automated? We live in an age of incredible technological leverage. Can you set up an email filter to automatically sort your inbox? Can you use software to automate a repetitive data entry task? Can you set up automatic bill pay so you never have to think about it again? Every recurring task you automate is a permanent gift of time and mental energy back to your future self. Can this be delegated? If a task cannot be eliminated or automated, can it be done by someone else? This isn't just for executives with assistants. It can mean hiring a freelancer for a specific project, using a grocery delivery service to save you an hour at the store, or redistributing household chores more effectively among family members. The goal is to free yourself up to focus on the work that only you can do, your highest point of contribution. Let's see this in action with a few examples. Consider a small business owner. She feels overwhelmed trying to manage marketing, sales, product development, and customer service. Applying the 80-20 rule, she analyzes her sales data and discovers that 80% of her revenue comes from one specific product sold to one specific type of customer. That is her 20%. Instead of spreading herself thin, she doubles down. She focuses all her marketing efforts on that customer profile. She seeks feedback to make that one product even better, and she eliminates or delegates everything else. Her business grows and her stress plummets. Consider a student facing final exams. The average student tries to study everything equally. They reread every chapter, highlight every page, and spend hours on topics that will only account for a tiny fraction of their grade. This is the 80% trap. The 80-20 student is smarter. They talk to the professor to understand the key themes of the course. They analyze past exams to see what kind of questions are asked. They identify the 20% of core concepts that will likely make up 80% of the exam questions, and they focus their study time with laser-like precision on mastering those concepts. They study less, but they get better grades. This principle forces you to adopt a new mindset. You must shift your focus from effort to results. Our culture often glorifies the grind and hustle, working long hours as a badge of honor. The 80-20 thinker finds this absurd. They are not interested in being busy. They are interested in being effective. They would rather work for 2 hyper-focused hours on a 20% activity and generate a massive result than work a 12-hour day swimming in the trivial 80%. They embrace the inherent asymmetry of the universe. Input and output are not equal. They are always hunting for the point of maximum leverage, the small hinge that swings the biggest door. In conclusion, this chapter is your strategic blueprint. After the diagnosis of the time audit, you now have the prescription. Your life's work, your daily practice is to constantly ask, is this in my vital 20% or my trivial 80%? Your to-do list is no longer a democratic list where every item has an equal vote. It is a dictatorship ruled by your most vital priorities. Your job is to identify them, protect them, and build your entire system around ensuring their execution. This is the essence of strategic living. It's about making a few high-quality decisions and then letting those decisions guide your thousands of daily actions. So, your action item is this. Take 30 minutes today. Review your goals. Look at your responsibilities. Identify your vital few activities for your work and for your personal life. Write them down. These are the hills you are willing to die on. Starting tomorrow, your primary objective is to make progress on these items before anything else. This clarity is the foundation upon which your ideal day and your ideal life will be built. Chapter 3. The System. Designing your ideal day and week. In our journey so far, we have accomplished two monumental tasks. First, with the time audit, we switched on the lights and saw our lives with unflinching clarity. We replaced assumption with awareness. Second, armed with the 80-20 principle, we brought a powerful compass to our map, identifying the vital few priorities that will lead us to our desired destination. We have the what. We know what matters. But this is where most self-improvement journeys stall and fail. Knowledge and intention are worthless without a bridge to action. You can have the most brilliant architectural blueprint for a skyscraper, but without a construction schedule, a skilled crew, and a repeatable process, it will forever remain a fantasy on paper. This chapter is about building that bridge. It's about creating the operating system that translates your priorities into reality. This is the system. Designing your ideal day and week. The core problem this chapter solves is our over-reliance on finite and unreliable resources, willpower and motivation. We wake up hoping we'll feel like going to the gym, hoping we'll be motivated to tackle that difficult project, hoping we'll have the willpower to resist distraction. But hope is not a strategy. Motivation is a fickle friend. It comes and goes like the weather. Willpower is like a muscle that gets fatigued with every decision you make throughout the day. Relying on them is like trying to power a city with a single small battery. A system, on the other hand, is like a power grid. It's a structure that runs in the background, making the right choices the easy choices. The goal of a well-designed system is not to force yourself to do the right things through sheer effort, but to make doing your vital 20% activities the path of least resistance. Many people hear the word system, schedule, or routine, and they immediately think of a prison, a rigid, boring, and restrictive cage that stifles spontaneity. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. A system does not constrain you. It liberates you. It is the trellis upon which the vine of your life can grow, ensuring it gets sunlight and doesn't collapse under its own weight. A system frees you from the constant draining mental effort of deciding what to do next. It automates the mundane so you can save your precious mental energy for what truly matters: creativity, problem solving, and deep connection. You are moving from being a reactive firefighter, constantly battling the blazes of urgency, to being a proactive architect, intentionally designing the structure of your life. This design process starts at the micro level, with the foundational building blocks of your ideal day. First, you must master the bookends of your day, your morning and evening routines. How you begin and end your day has a disproportionate impact on everything in between. Let's start with the morning routine. The first 60 minutes of your day set the trajectory for the next 16 hours. If you start your day in reactive mode, grabbing your phone, scrolling through social media, checking emails, reading negative news, you have already lost. You have handed over control of your attention and your emotional state to the whims of the outside world. You begin the day on your back foot, defending against other people's agendas. The master of time understands this and fiercely protects their morning. They win the morning to win the day. A powerful morning routine doesn't have to be long or complicated, but it must be intentional. It typically includes a few key elements. It starts with nourishing the body, a large glass of water to rehydrate, and a healthy breakfast. It involves movement, a few minutes of stretching, a quick workout, or a walk outside to get your blood flowing and energize your mind. And it includes a practice for mental clarity, a few minutes of meditation, prayer, or journaling to clear the mental clutter and set your intention for the day. Finally, it involves reviewing your vital few priorities for the day, which you ideally defined the night before. This entire process can take as little as 20 minutes, but its effect is profound. You start the day centered, energized, and proactive, with a clear sense of purpose. Equally important is the evening routine, or what we might call a shutdown sequence. In our always-on culture, we often work until we collapse into bed, our minds still buzzing with the stresses of the day. We then wonder why we can't sleep well. A proper evening routine is a deliberate process of winding down, signaling to your brain and body that the day is complete. The most crucial component is a digital sunset, turning off all screens, phone, TV, laptop, at least 60 minutes before bed. The blue light from these devices disrupts your body's production of melatonin, the sleep hormone. Use this final hour for restorative, analog activities. Tidy your workspace and home. Physical clutter creates mental clutter, so clearing your space helps to clear your mind. Spend a few minutes planning the next day. This simple act of writing down your top 3 priorities for tomorrow downloads them from your brain, freeing you from the anxiety of trying to remember them and allowing you to fully relax. Finally, read a physical book. Fiction is often best for escapism. Listen to calming music or talk with your partner. This routine ensures you get the deep, restorative sleep that is the ultimate foundation of all daytime productivity and well-being. With your bookends in place, you can now architect the main part of your day using a technique called time blocking. This is the practice of scheduling your entire day, assigning a specific task or category of tasks to every block of time. Instead of working from a simple to-do list and reacting to whatever feels most urgent, you work from a calendar. This simple shift is revolutionary for 2 reasons. First, it defeats Parkinson's law, which states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself all day to write a report, it will take all day. If you give yourself a 90-minute block, you will find a way to complete it in 90 minutes. Second, it eliminates decision fatigue. When every minute of your day has a mission, you don't waste mental energy deciding what to do next. You just look at your calendar and execute. Here's how to build your time-blocked day. The first and most important rule is to schedule your big rocks first. Your big rocks are your vital 20% activities, the most important tasks that align with your deepest goals. Before you put anything else in your calendar, you block out non-negotiable appointments with yourself to work on these priorities. Protect these blocks as if they were a meeting with the most important person in the world, because they are. Ideally, schedule these deep work sessions for 90 to 120-minute blocks during your peak energy hours, which you identified in your time audit from Chapter 1. During these blocks, you are unreachable. Turn off your phone, close your email, and eliminate all potential distractions. Next, you must tame the beast of shallow work. Schedule your shallow work in batches. Shallow work includes emails, administrative tasks, routine phone calls, and other low cognitive demand activities. These tasks are the enemies of deep work because they are seductive and create an illusion of productivity. The best way to manage them is to corral them into specific contained blocks. For example, schedule 2 45-minute blocks per day, one in the late morning and one at the end of the day, to process all your email at once. By batching these tasks, you prevent them from fragmenting your focus and bleeding into every hour of your day. Finally, schedule everything else. This includes your meals, breaks, exercise, and even buffer time. A common mistake people make with time blocking is creating a schedule that is packed from minute to minute with no room for reality. Life happens. A call runs long, a task takes more time than expected. Build 30-minute buffer blocks into your day to absorb these unexpected events. It's also crucial to schedule breaks. Your brain is not a computer. It needs downtime to rest and recharge. A short walk, some stretching, or simply looking out a window for 10 minutes can dramatically improve your focus in the next block. Now, we zoom out from the daily to the weekly horizon. A well-designed day is great, but a well-designed week is where you build real momentum. The cornerstone of the ideal week is the weekly review. This is your 60-minute CEO meeting with yourself, a sacred appointment you keep every week, typically on a Friday afternoon or Sunday evening. During this review, you do 3 things. First, you reflect on the past week. What were my biggest wins? What challenges did I face? What did I learn about my own productivity and habits? This creates a powerful feedback loop for continuous improvement. Second, you realign with your long-term goals. Are my daily and weekly actions still moving me toward my quarterly and yearly objectives? This keeps the big picture in focus. Third, you plan the upcoming week. You identify the 3-5 big rocks for the week ahead, and you schedule the time blocks for them directly into your calendar before the week even starts. This front-loading of strategic decision-making is perhaps the single most productive habit you can adopt. You start Monday morning knowing exactly what your priorities are and when you are going to work on them. To add another layer of focus to your week, you can implement themed days. This is the practice of assigning a specific theme to each day of the week to minimize context switching. For example, a writer might make Monday a research outline day, Tuesday and Wednesday deep writing days, Thursday an editing revision day, and Friday a marketing admin day. By focusing on one type of cognitive work each day, you can get into a state of flow much more easily and produce higher quality work. Now, let's address the most common objection. My life is too unpredictable for a schedule. I have a boss, I have kids, I have constant interruptions. This is a valid concern, but it misunderstands the purpose of a system. Your time-blocked ideal week is not a rigid cage. It is a flight plan. A pilot always starts with a flight plan. Does the plane follow that plan perfectly to the microsecond? Of course not. It encounters turbulence. It gets rerouted by air traffic control. It has to adjust for weather. but the pilot always refers back to the flight plan to get back on track. Without the plan, they would be lost. Your system is your flight plan. When an urgent, unexpected task lands on your desk, you don't panic. You deal with it, and then you look at your calendar and see exactly where you can get back on track. A single interruption derails an entire day for someone without a system. For you, it's just a temporary deviation. The system provides the structure to return to. So, let's bring this all together. Your action plan is to architect your first ideal week. Open your calendar. Block out your sleep, meals, and existing commitments. Schedule your non-negotiable morning and evening routines. Schedule your weekly review. Now, identify your 3-5 big rocks for the week and schedule 90-minute deep work blocks to make progress on them. Batch your shallow work into contained slots. What you will have in front of you is a blueprint for an intentional, focused, and productive week. It will feel strange at first, but this is the architecture of a mastered life. You have moved from being a victim of circumstance to the architect of your time. This system is your fortress of focus in a world of distraction. It's the structure that ensures your best energy goes to your biggest priorities. But having the perfect blueprint is one thing. The next challenge is the construction itself, dealing with the forces of procrastination from within and distraction from without that will try to tear your structure down. That is the final piece of the puzzle: execution. Chapter 4. Execution, Conquering Procrastination and Distractions. We have now reached the most critical moment in our journey. You have done the deep, introspective work. You've audited your time, becoming aware of your reality. You've defined your priorities, discovering your vital 9%. You've even built the perfect system, the architectural blueprint for your ideal week. But a blueprint, no matter how brilliant, has never housed a family. A map, no matter how accurate, has never carried a traveler to their destination. The most beautiful plan in the world is utterly worthless without the final, crucial ingredient: execution. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where intention collides with reality. And reality is a battlefield. Every single day, you are fighting a war on two fronts for your time and attention. The first is an internal war, fought against the insidious psychological enemy of procrastination. The second is an external war, fought against the relentless, overwhelming siege of distraction. This chapter is your field manual for that war. It will equip you with the strategies to not only survive, but to achieve victory day after day. Let's be clear. Procrastination and distractibility are not moral failings. They're not signs that you are lazy or weak. They are predictable, deeply ingrained features of how the human brain is wired, clashing with the unnatural demands of the modern world. Understanding this is the first step. You cannot defeat an enemy you do not understand. We will dissect these two enemies, understand their tactics, and then arm you with a practical arsenal to conquer them. Part 1. Conquering the internal enemy. Procrastination. Procrastination is one of the most misunderstood of all human behaviors. We often confuse it with laziness. Laziness is apathy. It's a genuine unwillingness to act. Procrastination is different. It is an active process. You know you should be working on that important report, but you choose actively to reorganize your bookshelf instead. It is the gap between intention and action. At its core, procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotional regulation problem. We procrastinate when a task makes us feel bad in some way. We put it off to avoid the negative emotions associated with it: boredom from a tedious task, frustration from a difficult one, anxiety or self-doubt when facing a challenge, or the fear of failure on a project that truly matters. Your brain's limbic system, the primitive, emotional part that seeks pleasure and avoids pain, hijacks your rational prefrontal cortex and screams, "Don't do that scary thing. Let's go get a quick hit of dopamine from checking social media instead." Procrastination is your brain's flawed attempt to manage your mood. The relief is immediate, but the long-term cost is immense. Stress, guilt, and unrealized potential. So, how do we fight this internal saboteur? Not with brute force. You cannot willpower your way out of procrastination consistently. Instead, you must use smart, psychologically informed strategies that trick your brain into cooperating. The first and most powerful weapon in your arsenal is the 2-minute rule. Popularized by productivity expert David Allen, this rule has two applications. First, if a new task comes across your plate that can be completed in less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Don't write it down, don't defer it, just get it done. This prevents the buildup of small, nagging tasks that create mental clutter. The second, more profound application is for your big, important, intimidating tasks, the ones you are most likely to procrastinate on. The rule is, you don't have to finish it. You don't even have to work on it for an hour. You just have to start for 2 minutes. That's it. Anyone can do something for 2 minutes. Want to write a book? Just open the document and write 1 sentence for 2 minutes. Want to start exercising? Just put on your workout clothes and do jumping jacks for 2 minutes. The magic of this rule is that it bypasses the brain's activation energy barrier. The resistance is always highest at the very beginning. But once you start, Newton's first law of motion kicks in. An object in motion stays in motion. More often than not, those 2 minutes will turn into 10, then 30, then an hour of focused work. Starting is the hardest part. The 2-minute rule makes starting absurdly easy. The second strategy is to break it down. A primary cause of procrastination is overwhelm. A task on your to-do list, like finish Q4 report, is not a task. It is a massive project that is so vague and intimidating that your brain will do anything to avoid it. The key is to break that project down into tiny, specific, concrete next actions. Finish Q4 report becomes 1. Gather the sales data from the spreadsheet. 2. Create the first 3 charts for page 1. 3. Write a rough draft of the introduction. 4. Email Sarah for the marketing figures. Each of these steps is small, clear, and achievable. You can't procrastinate on create the first 3 charts as easily as you can on finish the report. A good rule of thumb is to break it down until any single step feels so easy you couldn't possibly say no to it. Third, create implementation intentions. This is a concept from James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. Vague intentions lead to vague results. Instead of saying, "I'll work on my presentation tomorrow," you create a specific plan for when and where you will act. The formula is, I will behavior at time in location. For example, tomorrow at 9:00 a.m. at my desk in the office, I will turn off my phone and work on the slides for my presentation for 45 minutes. This preloads the decision. You are no longer waiting for a moment of inspiration. You have given your brain a direct, unambiguous command. Studies have shown that this simple technique can double or even triple your chances of following through. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, you must learn to practice self-compassion. Procrastination creates a vicious cycle. You put off a task, which makes you feel guilty and anxious. To escape those negative feelings, you procrastinate even more, which leads to more guilt and more anxiety. This is the procrastination guilt spiral. The only way to break the cycle is with forgiveness. When you slip up and procrastinate, don't beat yourself up. Acknowledge it without judgment, forgive yourself, and gently guide your attention back to the next tiny step. Self-criticism is a terrible motivator. It just adds another layer of negative emotion to the task. Self-compassion allows you to reset and try again. Part 2. Conquering the external enemy, distraction. If procrastination is the war within, distraction is the war without. And make no mistake, it is a war. We live in what is now called the attention economy. Your focus is the most valuable commodity of the 21st century, and the world's largest corporations have hired armies of behavioral psychologists and data scientists to engineer products designed to steal it from you. The endless scroll, the red notification bubbles, the auto-playing videos, these are not neutral features. They are weapons of mass distraction, designed to exploit the same reward-seeking pathways in your brain as a slot machine. Your lack of focus is not your fault. It is the result of a coordinated assault. To win, you must stop thinking of distraction as a minor annoyance and start treating it as a hostile invasion. You must build a fortress of focus. This fortress must first be built in your digital world. Your smartphone is the primary gateway for distraction. Your first act of defense is to turn off all non-essential notifications. Every buzz, ding, and pop-up is a tiny interruption that shatters your concentration and invites you to abandon your important work for something trivial. Be ruthless. Do you really need to know instantly that someone liked your photo or that a store is having a sale? The only notifications that should be enabled are those from actual human beings who may need to contact you urgently, like phone calls or messages from your family. Second, curate your home screen. Move all distracting apps, social media, news, games off your main screen and hide them in a folder on the last page. This adds a layer of friction. Instead of mindlessly tapping, you have to consciously seek out the distraction. For an even more powerful approach, switch your phone to grayscale mode. This makes the screen dull and lifeless, removing the colorful, dopamine-triggering rewards that app designers use to hook you. Your defense must extend to your computer. During your deep work blocks, use a website and app blocker like Freedom or Cold Turkey. These tools allow you to completely block access to distracting sites for a set period. It's like putting a lock on the digital cookie jar. Practice digital minimalism. Close all unnecessary tabs and work in full screen mode to minimize visual clutter. Next, you must defend your physical environment. Your workspace should be a sanctuary for focus, not a playground for distraction. Start with your desk. A cluttered desk leads to a cluttered mind. At the beginning of each deep work session, clear everything off your desk except the tools required for the task at hand. This practice, known as mise en place in professional kitchens, sends a powerful signal to your brain that it's time to focus. Then, you must manage people. Distractions from colleagues or family members are often the hardest to control. The key is to set clear boundaries. A closed door, a pair of noise-canceling headphones, or even a simple sign can signal to others that you are in a focus session and should not be disturbed. This isn't about being antisocial. It's about communicating your needs so you can do your best work. Schedule specific office hours when you are available for questions and collaboration, so people know they will have a chance to connect with you. Ultimately, all these strategies serve one purpose: to allow you to achieve a state of deep work. This term, coined by Cal Newport, refers to the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It is in this state of deep work that you produce your highest quality output, learn complex skills, and find immense satisfaction. In an increasingly distracted world, the ability to focus deeply is becoming rarer and therefore more valuable. Every time you fight off a distraction, you are not just getting a task done, you are training your focus muscle. You are building one of the most essential skills for professional success and personal fulfillment in the 21st century. So, the plan of attack is clear. You win the internal war against procrastination by making it ridiculously easy to start. You win the external war against distraction by making it incredibly difficult for your focus to be broken. This is not a battle you win once and for all. It is a daily practice. Some days you will be victorious. Other days you will fall back. The goal is not perfection. It is persistence. The master of time is not someone who never gets distracted or never procrastinates. They are simply someone who notices it faster, forgives themselves quicker, and gets back on track with their system more consistently than anyone else. Your plan is your fortress. Now you have the weapons to defend it. Conclusion. We have reached the end of our summary, but it is truly the beginning of your journey. We have traveled from the dark, confusing landscape of a life lived on autopilot to the clear, illuminated highlands of intentional living. You now hold the map and the compass. You understand the terrain, and you have been equipped with the strategies to navigate it successfully. Mastering your time is not a single destination you arrive at. It is a new way of traveling, a conscious and deliberate path you choose to walk every single day. Let's quickly revisit the 4 great pillars upon which your new life will be built, the foundational principles that will serve as your guideposts whenever you feel lost. First, we began with the awareness principle, the profound, unshakable truth that you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. The time audit was your courageous first step, a declaration that you would no longer live in ignorance of where your most precious resource was going. You learned that the foundation of all control is clarity. Second, you were armed with the powerful lens of the 80-20 rule to define your priorities. This was the moment you shattered the myth that all effort is created equal. You learned to distinguish between the vital few and the trivial many. The secret to extraordinary results is not to do more, but to do more of what truly matters and to have the courage to ignore, delegate, or eliminate the rest. Third, you became an architect, designing the system for your ideal day and week. You learned that motivation is fleeting and willpower is finite, but a well-designed system is forever. By creating routines, time blocking, and conducting a weekly review, you built a fortress of focus that makes productivity the path of least resistance. You learned that you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And finally, you became a warrior, prepared for execution. You learned to conquer the internal enemy of procrastination by making it easy to start, and to defend against the external enemy of distraction by making it hard to be interrupted. You now understand that a plan is merely a dream until it is met with the focused, daily discipline of action. Taken together, these 4 pillars do more than just help you manage your time. They empower you to master your life. This journey has never been about cramming more tasks into your day. It's about getting the right things done. It's about creating space for what truly matters. Deep work, deep relationships, deep rest, and deep fulfillment. It is about living with intention. Imagine your life is a magnificent ship. For too long, you may have been a passenger. tossed about by the waves of other people's priorities and the storms of digital distraction. Now, you have seized the wheel. Your awareness is your radar. Your priorities are your destination. Your system is your flight plan, and your execution is your hand. Steady on the helm. You are the captain now. The 168 hours in a week will pass, whether you act or not. Time is the great neutralizer. It bestows the same amount on the rich and the poor, the successful and the struggling. The only variable is what you do with it. Time is the canvas, your attention is the brush, and your priorities are the colors. Every day, you are painting the masterpiece that is your life. The question this book leaves you with is this: will you continue to splash paint randomly, hoping for a beautiful outcome? Or will you pick up the brush with intention and create the life you were meant to live? Do not let this be another interesting idea that you hear and forget. Let this be a turning point. Your call to action is simple. Choose one thing. Just one. Will you commit to a 3-day time audit? Will you identify your top 20% activities? Will you use the 2-minute rule on that one task you've been avoiding all week? The smallest step taken now is infinitely more powerful than the grandest plan saved for someday. The power to transform your relationship with time, and therefore the quality of your entire life, is not in this summary. It is, and always has been, inside you. Thank you for joining us at Summary in 15 minutes. If these ideas have sparked a fire in you, your only job now is to protect that flame and use it to light your way. Subscribe for more summaries that turn books into action. And remember the ultimate lesson: an idea is powerless until you give it a job to do.